Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking through a couple of my favorite plays on Prizepicks for today's slate for Friday, April the 15th. We do have just two games today on Friday, once again, but this is the conclusion of the play-in tournament. We got the battle for the 8 seed, the Cavs versus the Hawks, and the Clippers versus the Pelicans. Basically, it's winner gets into the playoffs, and loser is done. So this is basically do or die time. That's definitely going to be something we talk about that impacts kind of my decision on props for today. We kind of saw it last slate that these guys played. A lot of the starters played really heavy minutes. The Atlanta Charlotte game was kind of a blowout, so some of the guys didn't get their full minutes, but you saw heavy minutes for a lot of the Clippers guys, for the Pelicans guys, and I think you're going to see that once again today in their game, where it's basically do or die. So we're going to talk through three props I like for today. We have three fantasy point projections that I think are too low that we'll talk about. Just before we do, as always, guys, hit the like button down below. I appreciate the likes. As always, hit that subscribe button as well if you are new here. And if you have not signed up for Prizepicks yet, make sure to get over there, sign up, use promo code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And worth noting, if you're not a Prizepicks user, Prizepicks is offering a free square promo. Pretty much they are giving you a free pick that you will win. They set Joel Embiid's points prop at 0.5. Obviously, if Embiid scores 1 point, you win that prop. So you would take Embiid's over in points. This prop is up until Saturday, 6 o'clock Eastern time when that Sixers-Raptors game starts. So you could pair this. You could the picks I give out in this video. You could put the Embiid promo with that. And basically make it a 4-pick. It's up to you. I'll have a video up for Saturday's slate, so if you want to tail the picks I give in Saturday's video, pair that with the Embiid promo, you can. But definitely, if you're not signed up for Prizepicks yet, take advantage of this promo. Sign up, use code NOAH. You'll get a deposit bonus. And again, they're giving out a free win. Basically, you just find another pick you like. You can pair 2 picks, 3 picks, 4 picks with the Embiid promo, and it's basically a free pick that you're going to win. So even if you only do a 2-pick with Embiid and then someone else, you're basically getting 3-to-1 odds on just one play, on just one entry or one pick that you have to get right. So as long as you can find one pick that you really like and you win that, you pair it with the Embiid promo, you're going to triple up your money. Easy as that. Definitely sign up. Take advantage of this promo until it's available Saturday. Until the Sixers game starts. Obviously, take the over on Embiid's points. Find some other picks you like. If you want to tail the ones I give in this video, you can do that. If you want to wait till Saturday's video, I will have a video up for Saturday's games. Talk through some plays I like Saturday. You could obviously pair the Embiid promo with those picks as well. But yeah, get over to Prizepicks, guys. Sign up, use code NOAH. They will match your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But let's talk through the three plays that I like for today. We can recap Wednesday's picks before we do. We did go 2-1 on the 3 plays we gave out Wednesday, so that's back-to-back 2-1 days, which it's not bad. Obviously, I'm trying to hit every play if I can, but 2-1 is still not bad. We did hit the over 43 fantasy points for LaMelo Ball. He barely got there. It was definitely a sweat, but he finished with 44 fantasy points. I know his projection did go up as the day went on. So if you didn't get it in at 43, then you probably didn't hit, but he did go over 43 fantasy points. Capella went over his PRA without a sweat. He had a huge game against Charlotte last game. And then the one guy that got us was DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray unfortunately got into foul trouble. He played 9 first half minutes. He did play a ton in the second half. I think he played the entire second half. But he came up short of his PRA. I think he finished with like 30, and we needed 41. But he shot the ball terribly. He got in foul trouble. He played 9 first half minutes. That's just something you can't predict. LaMelo Ball had a horrible shooting game as well. He was luckily still able to get 44 fantasy points, but he shot like 7 for 25. So both LaMelo and DeJounte had like the worst shooting games I've ever seen. It is what it is, man. We got 3 plays we can talk about today. Hopefully we can hit all 3 of these. Hopefully we can win some money tonight. But let's talk through them. Start off with the fantasy point category. Like I said, I got 3 fantasy point projections I think are too low today. And first off, we're going to start off with Trae Young. So I think over 49 fantasy points for Trae Young looks really good here. I know if you pull up the last 5 games, there's a lot of red. Trae Young has only gone over this projection once out of his last 5 games, but he's been hovering right around 49 fantasy points. Like in the games he hasn't gone over, 45, 45, 45, and 47. And last game against Charlotte was a blowout. He only played 34 minutes. Obviously, he would have played way more had the game been close. He also shot the ball terribly last game. He had like a really bad shooting game. He shot 8 for 24 and 1 for 7 from 3. So, if that game stays close and Trae doesn't have a horrible shooting game, he's going over 49 fantasy points. And some of these games, like I want to say some of these games were blowouts where he didn't go over. I might be wrong there. But he's been hovering right around 49 fantasy points, been living right around that range. I think in a game like this, a must-win game, Trey's going to just play huge minutes. I mean, he's going to be out there for at least 40 minutes. I would be very surprised if he doesn't play close to 40 minutes. He might even play over 40 minutes. We've seen Nate McMillan really give Trey huge minutes in these type of games. And obviously with your season on the line in a must-win game, you're going to lean on your stars very heavily. So I expect huge minutes for Trey. I think over 49 fantasy points is definitely in play for him if he gets these huge minutes. And if you can take a look at his numbers this season, 35% usage rate, leads the team to no surprise, averaging over 52 fantasy points per 36. And like I said, I think he's going to play at least 36 minutes. Like if this game stays close and Trey doesn't get in foul trouble, which normally he usually doesn't, as long as he has a mediocre shooting game, he's probably getting 49 fantasy points just because of how many minutes he's going to play and the usage he's going to have when he's on the floor. I mean, his usage is great. He takes a ton of shots. He has the ball in his hands a ton. He's been getting a ton of assists as well. Even if he doesn't have a great scoring game, he can get you 12, 13, 14 assists and rack up fantasy points that way. So really like Trae Young, over 49 fantasy points. I expect a very big role for him. I expect huge minutes from him. And I think 49 fantasy points is easily achievable. So I'm taking the over on Trae's fantasy points. And then the second pick I like is over 38 fantasy points for Jonas Valanciunas. So this was a prop that I gave out for Patreon members, and it did hit last slate against San Antonio. I think J-Val finished with almost 50. Yeah, 49.3 fantasy points last game against the Spurs. Worth noting that J-Val played really big minutes as well last game in what was a must-win game for them against the Spurs. He played 36.5 minutes, obviously had 49 fantasy points. That was a really good matchup against San Antonio. He's had a lot of success against San Antonio this season. He's also had a lot of success against the Clippers. He had one of his best games against the Clippers earlier this season. He had 70 fantasy points against them. I want to pull up the game log or pull up the box score just to confirm his exact stat line. But yeah, 66.5 fantasy points for J-Val earlier this year against the Clippers. Played 32 minutes, had 39 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in those 32 minutes. J-Val is a super productive player when he's on the floor. You can take a look at his usage this season. He's not a super high usage player. I mean, he's got a 24.4% usage rate, but he just does everything. He scores, he rebounds, he can block shots. He averages over 44 fantasy points per 36. And like I said, I think it's pretty likely that J-Val gets heavy minutes once again. The starters, the main guys, they're going to really be relied on heavily. So pretty much all these these guys are going to play huge minutes. Trey, Garland, Capella, Mobley, even DeAndre Hunter, Karis LeVert. These guys are just going to play a ton. I said it in my video recently, I think during the playoffs and especially in these type of games that are must-win games, I lean more towards overs than unders on star players just because star players are going to be relied on heavily. They're going to have to play big minutes, and I expect J-Val to play 35, 36 minutes here, given that he's averaged 44 fantasy points per 36, given that he's averaged per minute 1.24 fantasy points per minute this season. Feel pretty good about him getting over 38 fantasy points if he does get 36 minutes again. Even if by some chance he maybe doesn't play 36, maybe he only plays 32, J-Val can still put up over 38 fantasy points in 32 minutes. This is just too low of a projection, in my opinion. I like the matchup against the Clippers. I know the Clippers did a good job of stopping Karl-Anthony Towns, and we've seen the Clippers double-team bigs a lot. We've seen them be able to stop some bigs at times this year. But J-Val's just such a productive guy. He'll find a way to get fantasy points, whether that's from rebounds, blocking shots, getting putbacks. He'll get the job done for us. So I feel really good about over 38 fantasy points for J-Val, especially after last game, after such a big game from him, after he played so many minutes. I think it's likely that he gets a big role once again, plays big minutes again. And then the third and final pick that I like, I was on Capella last slate. I was on his PRA, and he hit very easily. Right now, they don't have a PRA projection up for Capella, which is kind of weird. But I'm going to take over 34 fantasy points for Clint Capella. Had a huge game last game against Charlotte. Finished with over 50 fantasy points, had 53 fantasy points. And kind of similar to Trae Young, Capella has been living right around 34 fantasy points. Even in the games where he doesn't go over this, 33.8, 32.8. I can look, over his last 6 or 7 games, the games he hasn't gone over, 33.9. He had he had 46 fantasy points last time they played Cleveland, but I think the matchup's fine. Cleveland might be getting back Jared Allen today. Jared Allen is he's a game time decision. He's 50-50 to play is what it said. They said he's going to attempt to play. Even if Jared Allen plays, I'm not super worried about that. Jared Allen's never been this elite defender. He's a good shot blocker, but he's not a guy that's really going to, dominate in the paint, that's really going to stop bigs. He's not like a Rudy Gobert. So I think Capella getting 34 fantasy points is another projection that just looks too low. Capella played 29 minutes last game, and that was with it being a blowout. I do want to mention that Okongwu did get into foul trouble last game, which kind of helped Capella to get a few extra minutes. But even if you take out the Okongwu foul trouble last game, Capella was on pace to play about 32 minutes had the game been close. He finished with 29.5. Capella this season, he's kind of been a bit of a disappointment. He's normally a guy that, when he gets like 30 plus minutes, he's scoring like 40 plus fantasy points most nights. His production hasn't been as good this season, his point per minute production, but I mean, he's still got solid numbers on the year. On the season, he's averaging over 40 fantasy points per 36 without John Collins on the floor. And worth noting that John Collins has already been ruled out for this game. Over 40 fantasy points per 36 per minute. He's still averaging a solid 1.14 fantasy points per minute. We know Capella is one of these guys that can score, can get rebounds, he can block shots as well. He can get those defensive stats, and those defensive stats are huge on Prizepicks with their fantasy scoring. Obviously, steals and blocks are worth 3 points each. Last game, Capella got 2 steals, 3 blocks, so he got 15 points alone just from steals and blocks, and he can do that. Like, he can have those type of games where he gets a couple steals, a couple blocks. Obviously, he's going to dominate on the glass. He's going to grab a ton of boards. He's always going to be around the rim to get putbacks. Feel like Capella's probably going to get a double-double here. He'll probably block a few shots. If he plays anywhere near 30 minutes or over 30 minutes, I feel good about him scoring 34 fantasy points. Like, this is a projection that I think is too low. I think Capella should be projected for like 37, 38 fantasy points. I think now that it's the postseason, now that we're in the play-in tournament, it's do or die. Like I said, I think these starters are going to be leaned on a lot more heavily, especially guys like Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter. But I think Capella's going to have a big role too. I think his minutes are going to be really good. They're going to need his size against most likely Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. So I feel good about over 34 fantasy points for Clint Capella, and these are 3 fantasy point projections that stand out to me that I thought were too low. Taking a look at this slate, so worth noting, I am recording this video on Thursday night, but pretty much all the props have been posted for Friday's games. Like, I don't really think there's anything else that could be added. They might add some like secondary guys, so like some bench guys might get added to the board, but right now with what we have available, there's a good amount that stood out, and these are 3 props I do like for Friday's games. So if you are telling me on these 3 picks, I do wish you guys the best of luck. I did already put in an entry with these 3 guys. If you want to do a 3 pick with just these 3, that is totally fine. But like I said, and like I've said previously, on the days where maybe we get a pick wrong, it kind of makes some sense to mix in some 2 pick entries. So like last slate on Wednesday, if you did a 2 pick with LaMelo's fantasy points and Capella's PRA, you should have been able to at least win some money off that. Obviously, DeJounte was a letdown, so if you had any entries with DeJounte, those probably lost if you did power plays. But it does make sense to do some 2 pick combinations as well. You don't have to play all 3 picks in one entry. You can do 2 picks. So you could do Trae and J-Val. You could do J-Val and Capella. You couldn't play Trae and Capella together because they're on the same team. You have to have 2 different teams. But if you want to play Trae, Capella, and then you want to play the Embiid promo, you could do that because at that point you have a player from a different team. So definitely take advantage of this promo that Prizepicks is running. You could throw it into this entry if you wanted to. Obviously, you could wait till Saturday. I will have a video up for Saturday's slate talking through some of my favorite plays for Saturday's games. I think we have 4 games on Saturday, so it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm excited for the postseason, man. Excited to watch these games, and hopefully our guys can go over their fantasy point projections. I feel really good about these guys getting big minutes, and if they play big minutes again, I like their chances of hitting their fantasy props. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Again, wish you the best of luck if you're tailing. If you enjoyed this video, if it helped, hit that like button down below. As always, I appreciate you guys' support. Appreciate you checking out these videos. Hit that subscribe button as well if you are new here. Again, going to be uploading these Prizepicks videos daily, every single day of the week, Monday through Sunday. I'm going to be covering some of my favorite plays for Prizepicks. Usually, I think during the playoffs, we're going to have at least 2 games a day. It'll get to a point where, at some point we'll just have like 1 game a day, but I'm going to try and do my best to find as many props as I can each day, share them with you guys, and hopefully we can make some money, during the playoffs. I do enjoy betting player props during the playoffs because you just don't have to worry about as much bull crap, no blowouts. I know the Charlotte-Atlanta game was kind of a blowout last game, but usually you don't have to worry about blowouts. Guys are getting big minutes. It's fun to bet props during the postseason, but that's what I got for today, guys. Wish you the best of luck as always. If you enjoyed, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't signed up for Prizepicks yet, make sure to sign up. Use promo code NOAH. Get your deposit bonus when you do sign up. And, yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Hope you enjoy, guys. Wish you the best of luck tonight, and we'll see you in the next one.